Well, they did it. They turned it around. Their first loss under Joe Montemurro, and they come back and they win 3-2 against Panama. It was an end-to-end game, quite open, a lot going on, especially in that second half. As we kind of were saying before we hit record here, Burke, it was a game of football, and at the end of the day, the Matildas won.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God. I don't think I could have handled two losses to Panama. No offense to Panama. They played some pretty good football,
Yep.
but I could not have taken that. That would have been too much for me.
Just too much. Well, I mean, you bring up the fact they play good football. I mean, the two goals that they scored, you can't really have a problem with conceding those, the caliber of goals that they did.
Yeah, the only problem really is that there was some glaring defensive errors
Yeah.
going on there, which you kind of wish we were better than. But, this is Australia. This is unfortunately what we do
That's true.
sometimes.
Well, and it's kind of been a running theme for this block of matches, right? Is that it's this experimentation phase. Montemurro's trying out new players, new tactics, new systems, new styles. You've got to expect these kind of mistakes, but you can kind of also understand the frustration of we keep seeing it's the same sort of errors playing out from the back, being slow, not making the right decisions. Like, there's only so much you can actually chalk up to it being new and being different players as it just being perhaps some of the players not being up to standard.
Yeah, and I mean, some of these players, they're not new. They've been around
Yeah.
for quite some time now, and yeah, I guess it's going to be interesting to see what the next squad looks like
Mm.
because Pep's had a lot of time to have a look at all of
Yep.
the players and see what everyone kind of has to offer. So it'll be interesting to see who he keeps on because this was a very big squad as well,
Yeah.
and who doesn't make the cut next time.
Yeah, well, you think that, with the sort of variety of players that we have seen over the last four matches, that, he's definitely getting some ideas for that. But I thought that there was some really good moments in this game that I want to focus on first. Let's touch on the positives. Let's not be completely all negative about everything, as seems to be the case for just social media in general at the moment when it comes to football. I thought that the two fullbacks, Nevin and Grant, played pretty well. Obviously, Grant came up with the winner right at the end in the 90th minute. I thought the pair of them looked great, and obviously Hayley Raso as well. You can't look past her with the impact that she has on the game. And I thought individually there were standout performances, but there was still moments where it didn't quite feel like the team has fully gelled yet.
Yeah, and this is, I guess, the issue with the whole experimentation and trying new things, because I don't know if anyone in this starting lineup has ever played really next to the person next to them, except for
Yeah,
maybe Razzo and Heyman. They go
yeah,
way back, actually, so that's my bad. They go back. But
yeah.
everyone else, very
It's all
much their
new.
first
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
So I can kind of forgive them a bit for that, but there were some really good, strong performances out there. I mean, Heyman, obviously,
yeah.
you
The
can't
two goals. Yeah.
you can't say a bad word about her. I'm sorry. I know it's early days, but I fear she may have booked her ticket to
I
the Asian
mean,
Cup.
she puts the ball in the back of the net, right? Which is obviously the number one thing you want from your centre forward. It's kind of the point of it,
They're
and
there
she just
for.
always does it, even when it feels like she's not necessarily always in the game. Like in this case, right? She wasn't always being the focal point of the attacks. She still scored two goals. Like it's when you're having a quiet day and you're scoring two goals, it's difficult to look past that as being your first choice option for striker.
Yeah, so good luck to everyone else. You better score a bag in the near future. Unless you're Sam Kerr. Sam Kerr can do whatever she likes, really. But everyone else, you are, I fear, on notice. Good luck. I also really enjoyed the football from Jess Nash for the
Yeah.
most part. There was that one point where she kind of sold Van Egmond down the river,
Yeah.
but otherwise, especially that goal line save that
The
she made,
clearance was great. Yeah.
unbelievable. And she's only 20 years old too,
Yeah.
which is horrifying. to think about. But still, that's really good for us. A
Yeah.
20-year-old central defender. I like the sound of
Who's
that.
putting their body on the line every time they go in for a
In
challenge
a
as well. That's
in
the
a
thing that
random
yeah,
friendly against Panama.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
if with
absolutely.
I don't think you could really complain too much had she not fully committed to that one, knowing what was probably likely going to hurt at the end. But the fact
Yeah.
that she went through with it anyway, you're stopping a goal from going in. But yeah, like you said, it's a meaningless friendly. Like that, I think that's a really good sign that the mentality, especially with the younger group of players coming through, is in a really good space right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think also, obviously, already said Hayley Razzo.
Yeah,
I, it's been so long since we've gotten to see Hayley Razzo, and just these last couple of weeks, getting to see that again. She's got to find a club that can let her do this every
yeah.
week. I know the Spurs are still posting about her. I don't know if I believe them that they still are going to keep her next season. She just needs to go somewhere, wherever that is. I
Yeah.
don't care. She needs to go wherever it is that lets her do this every week. Please.
But it's like
Please.
it's the thing is when she is at her best, completely unstoppable as a player, and we saw glimpses of that tonight, right, where she's in those one-on-one situations with her defender, and you just go, oh, she's got to beat them every single time here, and
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 she
it's
does.
just that confidence and reassurance. Yeah, it's crazy to have that sort of ability as a player, but then what that brings to the team as a whole. We saw the sort of shift throughout the match towards focusing a lot of the attacking play through her and on that side of the pitch, knowing that this is a really favourable matchup because she is going to win this. Even when she was being double teamed at times, she was still winning those duels. Like, yeah, at her best, she is such an indispensable member of this squad.
I also think Amy Sayer played out of her
Yes.
mind
Yeah.
once again. Insane to think that it was like a month and a half ago that she was just coming back from an ACL. Unreal.
And now she's doing that.
Her vision is
Yeah.
just unbelievable. Some of the passes that she was making today and in the last few games that she's played, crazy work.
Yeah.
Crazy work. Imagine her and like Mary Fowler when she's back from her ACL, knock on wood. She comes back when she needs to. But I'm imagining that, I
Yeah.
would like to I would like to go there. I would like to be there. Can we fast forward, please, the time so I can be
Honestly,
there?
there are these bits that are like the future is so promising
Oh,
for
it really
what we're
is.
seeing, but the problem is we're only seeing these individual
Yeah,
pieces one at a time, right? It's
yeah.
like injuries or whatever are keeping people out of the squad, and we've just not quite got the full picture yet. And it's just that's one of those frustrating things is we can see that there is real gold here. It's just not come together properly yet.
We are so close. We're so very close. We will get there. We will.
Let's really hope so. Obviously injuries have been rocking women's football like crazy over the last few years, especially with for some reason Australian players seem to be copping a fair brunt of it as well. So yeah, fingers crossed that we can keep everybody healthy moving forwards and really see what can come of some of these promising partnerships. There were some interesting other things I noticed from the game. I don't know if you picked up on this on the broadcast towards the end. Joe Montemurro having a chat with some of the players during a stoppage, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'll leave it up to you guys." Now that was quite an interesting thing to hear from me. Obviously, then moments later, they conceded the second goal. So I'm wondering if that's sort of him going, like we're in this sort of experimental phase with the team. Let's let the players do what they think is they're most comfortable with. But I found that quite an interesting comment. Obviously, we don't know the context to it, but just on face value, I found quite amusing.
Like at face value, who's in charge here? What do you mean? You'll leave it up to them,
Leave it up to you.
bro? What? What? You were hired for that. You were hired so it's not left up to them.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Like I'm all for giving freedom to players, but
Oh,
that is a very,
absolutely. But
very
that's
interesting thing to say.
that's a lot of freedom. to
Yeah,
just be
yeah.
saying,
Just do what you want.
do whatever
Do
you want.
whatever.
Do whatever.
And then, like I said, to follow that up with
Immediately conceding the goal.
conceding the goal,
Yeah.
that's all around very funny. I'd be
Not a
interested to
great
see
look.
if anybody in the presser picks up on that and asks him about it, because I want to get to the bottom of that. It's quite an interesting thing. Obviously, something as well close to your heart, Burke. Jada Whyman. It's just what more does she need to do at this point?
Well, it's certainly not dropping everything and flying across the country, because she did that. I'm about to show up on Football Australia's doorstep, and I'm going to start knocking on the door. And if they don't answer me, and if they can't tell me why this is happening, I'm going to lose it. She's been going, I tweeted about it before the game. She's been going to national team camps since 2018.
Yeah.
Since 7 years. 7 years. And not a cap
Nothing
to
to
her
show for it.
name. Like, I'm all for, calling players up and them not getting, a start or getting time on the pitch because it's like their first camp or something.
Yeah.
But this very much is not her first camp. Like, it couldn't be any
she's done the
physically
rounds,
further from her first camp.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know what else to say. I'm sorry, Jada Whyman.
Like, and it's
I'm
it's
so
no
sorry.
discredit to Lincoln, right? I thought she
No.
had a great game.
Yeah,
Had
absolutely.
like that tremendous save,
Yeah,
played really
that was
well. But
crazy.
when
But
you're in this sort of situation where you're playing these friendlies, you're mixing the squads up, surely this is the prime opportunity to give Wyman that shot and just say, you've been around for a long time, prove it. Like, prove what you can do, show us why we should seriously consider you moving forwards, because otherwise it's just going to be a continual cycle for her of not being able to prove herself at this level and then getting overlooked again.
it's genuinely like mind-boggling at this point. Like, no one could find a spare 30 minutes, a spare 45 minutes somewhere across 7 years.
Yeah.
What are we doing? The only thing that's keeping her in Australia's selection is that she is Australian. Like, she can't be like, oh,
Yes.
you know what, I'm going to go play for another. You know what, maybe she's going to move somewhere and become naturalized and then finally get a cap for another country. Like, maybe that's what it's going to take.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even be mad. I'd be a little annoyed, but only at Australia for not having done something about it sooner.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of those ones where, it's incredibly frustrating to see, considering just how long she's been around, how, at the level she's been performing as well. It's just like, but I want to quickly shout out. Yeah, I want to quickly shout out Panama as well, because, yes, we want to talk about the Tillies, but I thought over these two games, they played extremely well. You kind of touched on it earlier. They played some brilliant football. The 2 goals they scored were 2 great finishes. And what we really saw as well was a passion and a real, sort of determination to make the most out of these fixtures, which I think is a great approach. Obviously, Panama are ranked lower than the Tillies. Doesn't mean that they're a bad side by any means, but they're clearly viewing this as an opportunity to play against some really high quality opposition and sort of show what they can do. And I thought it was awesome to see them coming out firing on all cylinders. They were super physical. They were looking to win every duel. They were playing with a lot of intent. Like, I think that is great for Panama, but I think it's great for the Matildas as well, because you're coming up against not just opposition that are also treating this as a meaningless friendly. You're coming up against opposition who are really fighting for the win and fighting to get something from these games. And I think that just that level of, competitiveness, I suppose, it just adds something more to these games that the players and the coaches are going to get out of it.
Yeah, I think Panama are definitely an underrated side by the world. I think a lot of women's nations, honestly, are an underrated side by the world.
Yeah.
Particularly because the ranking system with FIFA doesn't lend itself to recognizing that, because there are so many nations that have put negative amount of money into the women's game over there. And they have some fantastic players. I mean, Marta Cox is
Oh,
unbelievable. If you don't believe me in that Panama are a good side, go watch their World Cup tournament
yeah,
from here, from when they played here in Australia. Go
yeah,
watch it. It was insane. I did find the jersey pulling very frustrating,
that was annoying. Yeah,
but that is the game of football and that is how it goes. I think initially the referee was very, very lenient on
mm.
them, and I don't think that she should have been. Personally, I'm a big fan of being a bit heavy handed at the start so you don't have to be heavy
Set the
handed at the
standard. Yeah,
end.
yeah,
Yeah, and then you don't have to worry about losing control of the game because everyone knows
yeah.
what's going on. But I'm not a referee, and that's probably a good thing for everyone. Um, but yeah, they played some great football. They had some excellent defensive work. There wasn't much their keeper could do about the goals that we scored
No.
at any point, really. They were just very good goals.
Hmm.
Shock, Michelle Heyman is good at her job. Um, but yeah, they make for a really good opponent. They're
Yeah,
really different to the teams that we usually play. They're nothing like a New Zealand or a Japan or any of the kind
yeah.
of teams local to us that we play frequently. So I'm really glad that we got to play a side like Panama.
Mm.
Um, and no offense to Panama, but I'm very glad to be done with them. I would like to not see them for an extended period of time, please. I've seen enough. Thank
That's
you.
like that's the most
But
respect that you could give them. You
go
know,
home.
it's like
Go
yeah,
home now. I've had it. I've had
we
enough.
don't want to see you again.
No, this is. It's like when we play Brazil.
Yeah.
I'm happy about it mostly, but also I need you. I need this to be over. I need to not be seeing this anymore. Oof.
And now moving forwards for the Matildas, obviously this window's come to a close with these four matches, 2 wins, a draw and a loss. What are they going to really take from this moving forwards, right? It's, been this kind of weird window. Obviously, Montemurro's come in as the new coach. We've seen different things tried out. Some have worked, some haven't. Different players have worked, others haven't. We've had some good results and some perhaps not great results, but I think overall the level of performance has been actually pretty solid. I think that there's what we've seen is a decent base to build on moving forwards, but it's working out those little intricacies, and I think that that's going to be the key thing, heading into the next window for the Matildas is how are they going to sort out some of these little niggles and these problems that keep arising under this new system.
Yeah, if anything, sort of, it's kind of gonna get a bit worse before it gets better
Yeah.
because we're gonna have more players coming back
Mm.
into like selection eligibility. Like you've got Steph Catley who wasn't here, you've got Caitlin Ford who wasn't here, you've got Katrina Gorry who wasn't here.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying it's the next window, but Sam Kerr is like as close as she's ever
Well,
been.
she was spotted at the training.
She was running around,
She was.
she was training.
Yeah.
So you've got that. So there's still, like, I know he wanted to test out a lot of players, but there's still technically more players to, like, it's not really to test, but to see how others work with them. Because
Yeah.
obviously we know Steph Catley and Caitlin Ford can play together, but
Hmm.
we don't know how sort of other players work when you may play Steph Catley as a left centre back and
Yeah.
then have someone else in that left back position then pairing with Ford. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, I think it could possibly be a bit trickier
So
going forward.
what we're saying is hold on to your hats. It's not necessarily going to be
Please,
the smoothest ride.
God no. I've said it before and I will say it again. The runway to the Asian Cup for Joe Montemurro is a cliff dive. And we are waiting to see, and we are all hoping and praying that the parachute deploys. If it does not, it was nice knowing you all.
Well, there we
It
go.
will.
I think,
It will.
yeah, I think it will. I think we've seen enough to suggest that there's as we were saying earlier, these little pieces of gold just waiting to be unveiled in this squad. But yeah, that's the window drawn to a close. a 3-2 win to round it all out. So, a little bit of positivity to take forwards for the Matildas.